Boker Tov, everyone. Shana Tova, good Yontif. Welcome back. For those who are continuing your high holy journey with us. For those who are here with us for the first time, welcome. Bruchim Habayim. And we hope that you will find meaning, hope, and spirituality in our time together this morning.
And so we continue our journey this morning to make amends and to forgive as we create this community of holiness and connection that spans the globe in order that we enter this new year with a pure heart.
As with Rosh Hashanah and last night on Kol Nidre, our prayers this morning will consist of live and pre-recorded segments. Together we have created this virtual community. Not some of us, but all of us here together. Please use the prayer book we have provided you, our Silver Mishkan HaNefesh, to reflect and to follow along. If you don't have a prayer book, no worries. Everything will be on the screen. Use the slides on the screen to share as we elevate our prayers together.
And as we said last night, the pages in front of us, the words on those pages, the words on the slides, those are not the only form of prayer. Or rather, those are stepping stones for our own prayers. So we ask you to look within, into your heart, into your soul, so that our prayers can be elevated together.
So sit back, find your machzor, take a deep breath, and begin this process of repentance and forgiveness, live and pre-recorded, physically separate, but certainly spiritually connected. As we now invite you to join with Cantor Shapiro, we enter this day of reflection and introspection.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 178.
You are the one who unites all things, who links life to life in a sacred chain. The forests anchored in the soil breathe air into our lungs. Our faces are reflected in the creatures of earth. We carry the sea within us. Our fate is connected to rivers and deserts, our family a many-branched tree of life. All beings intertwine in you, all are encompassed in Adonai Echad. Thus no man is an island, no soul exists apart. To say Echad is to know this truth, to see the whole world, humankind, undivided. Precious and holy are these words we speak. Adonai Echad, we proclaim you one. Let us raise our voices proclaiming God's unity and committing ourselves through word and through action to serve as witnesses to this eternal truth. I invite you to turn to the Shema and to rise if you are able on page 186.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובביתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Every year as I prepare for the High Holy Days, I study the works of my teacher of blessed memory, Rabbi Richard Levy. I miss his teachings and his blessings every day. Rabbi Levy was a soul that always found goodness in others, and he always looked to the future knowing that we were on the right path. And in studying his words on Mi Chamocha, Rabbi Levy wrote about God. You continue to do great things for us, wonders more than we can count. You have done so since you led us out of Egypt. And I was reflecting on those words this year because it's sometimes hard to see God's wonder. It's sometimes hard to see that Mi Chamocha moment of standing at the shore of the sea because we've left a year of pain and destruction. But I think of Rabbi Levy, and I think of his vision of goodness and his optimism for the future. And I'm reminded that in this past year, we still saw great moments of beauty. We still saw God's redemption. And as we enter this coming year and as we sing these words of Michamocha, let us challenge one another to open our eyes and to open our hearts to receive God's blessing and to see those wonders that are hidden all around us. Together we rise, and we offer these words of our Amidah. Adonai sefatai tivtach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praises.
We could read Unatana Tokef this year and say that God decided to send a pandemic to change the world, to strike out and lash at human beings all over, to cause hundreds of thousands of deaths. But I do absolutely reject a theology that says God punishes the evil because that also would mean God punishes the good people who are out there. That theology is not only 2,500 years old, it's dated, I think it's perverse, and instead we need to remember that what God causes is the inspiration for you and for me to go and help make this world a better place so that we can have no further causes for illness and only healing ahead. Unatana Tokef.
Unatana Tokef Kedushat Hayom Ki Unatana Tokef Kedushat Hayom Ki hu nora ve'ayom uvatinasem malchatecha v'kol b'chesed kisecha v'tishev alav be'emet v'tishev alav be'emet. Emet ki ata hu dayan u'mochiach ve'odea va'id. Emet. Emet ki ata hu dayan u'mochiach ve'odea va'id. V'choti
Tizkor kol hanishkachot tisach ושופר גדול איתה
We read now on the bottom of page 215. When we walk through a valley of darkness, but find courage to live in the shadow of pain, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When we speak about fear with honesty and share what is hardest to say, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When day becomes night, but we let ourselves hope, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When we feel far from caring and friendship, but let go of pride to ask for help, we transcend the harshness of the decree. When in grief we are crushed by the absence of love, but open ourselves to your presence, we transcend the harshness of the decree. We are on page 237. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mochel v'soleach la'avonoteinu ve'la'avonot amo beit Yisrael uma'avir ashmoteinu b'chol shana v'shana melech al kol haaretz Mekadesh Yisrael ve'yom HaKippurim. You are blessed, Adonai, sovereign, who forgives our failings and pardons the failings of your people, the house of Israel. You banish our guilt from year to year. You reign in majesty over all the earth. You sanctify the people Israel and the Day of Atonement. Amen. We continue our service with the prayer for peace, Sim Shalom, in a lovely setting by Zena Goldrich.
Sim shalom, sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed, b'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ha'amecha. Sim shalom, sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed, b'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha.
Barcheinu Avinu, kolanu ke'achad, ve'or panecha. Ki ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom,
Sim shalom,
sim shalom,
sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed, b'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha.
Torah chayim, Torah chayim, ve'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka uvracha, ve'rachamim, ve'chayim, ve'shalom.
Sim shalom,
Sim shalom,
sim shalom,
sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed, b'rachamim ve'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha.
וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
Sim shalom,
שים שלום,
sim shalom,
שים שלום, שים שלום,
tova
וברכה,
chen v'chesed,
ברחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה,
chen v'chesed,
ברחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך.
Baruch atah Adonai.
These past few days, these high holy days, these days of awe, I found myself looking at services around the world, looking at the communities in Israel where I used to pray when I lived there, seeing the beauty, and yes, at times, seeing the sadness. And watching those services in Israel reminded me of my time in Jerusalem. Walking down those cobblestone streets, my favorite moments were when strangers would pop their heads out of random doors, asking me to join a minyan. As many of us know, Jewish law demands a minyan, or a quorum of 10, to have a proper and full service. Most importantly, it demands a minyan of 10 to say words of Kaddish for one who has died. Now, never mind the fact that I was only being asked to join because of my perceived gender. That's another sermon. But it was those moments that forced me to stop, that caused me to pause, that allowed me to put my Jewish learning and ethics into practice. Because I knew that in those moments, that the need for a stranger to offer prayers was predicated on me, a stranger passing by on pure chance and coincidence to offer my most sacred gift, time. For the majority of us this past year, while we have been experiencing this quarantine, we as a global community have thought a lot about time. The time we give and the time we take. The time wasted and the time wanted. We learn from Psalm 144, the life of a person is like a breath exhaling. Our days are like a passing shadow. If the psalmist is right, then how are we counting our days? And more importantly, how are we making our days count? Yom Kippur. Today is referred to as Shabbat Shabbatot, the Sabbath of all Sabbaths. And it was the great Abraham Joshua Heschel who taught in his book, The Sabbath, that Judaism is a religion of time, aiming at the sanctification of time. Unlike the space-minded individual to whom time is unvaried, to whom all hours are alike, from a Jewish and biblical mindset, there are no 2 hours that are alike. No 2 minutes that are alike. Every hour is unique, the only one given at that moment, exclusive and endlessly precious. For Heschel, the Jewish way of thinking, the Jewish way of living, is to look at time as holy. For Heschel, that was the beauty of Shabbat, that we finally get to free ourselves from the 6 days of mundane living and enter into a palace of time, when time truly begins to recognize that it's a gift from God. But it is our challenge not to wait all week for Shabbat. It is our challenge to create those moments of holiness every day. It is our challenge to create pockets of Shabbat every day. It's our challenge to create those pockets of holiness in our lives. My teacher, Rabbi Richard Levy, who I mentioned earlier of blessed memory, he would live these words every day. As I said in his eulogy a year and a half ago, for Rabbi Levy, the calendar, it was a mere suggestion. For Rabbi Levy, the meetings were not measured from narrow time slots that the calendar would give. He, to his last dying day, would only use a written calendar. But rather, the meetings were about the individual he was meeting with, the content of the conversation, the genuine interest of the moment. Often when meeting with Rabbi Levy, you would wait a while because he was just finishing up with the person before you. But we were never annoyed because time stood still. We had the chance to breathe and just be. Because in that waiting, we were reminded of the gift of time, that time is holy. And far too often we are racing and not receiving. So today, we take the words of the Psalms, the teachings of Heschel, and the life of Levi, and we reflect on our own time, how we live, and how we allow others to live in our space. Life is made up of minutes. For some, we waste those minutes as we push along from task to task, meeting to meeting, person to person, scrolling one app to the next. But for others, for the truly righteous and special among us, those minutes, those meetings, those people, well, that's the essence of life. That is what it means to live. How we value our time and how we praise each minute and how we value those souls in our lives that occupy those minutes. So on this day, this Shabbatot, this Yom Kippur, we ask ourselves and each other, how will we live those minutes? How will we make our time sacred and holy in this new year? Because often we must admit, because today is about truth, about honesty, about a heart-filled confession. Often we find ourselves saying, just a minute, be there in a minute, call you back in a minute, give me just a minute. These words are easy to offer and they roll off our lips like water into a stream, not realizing for once that each minute is sacred and each minute is a gift, a bridge from the safety of the past to the beautiful unknown of the future. The minutes we offer, the minutes we take away, the minutes we share, these are sacred vessels of encounter, of connection, of hope. Each minute a jar of something unique, a jar never used before and never used again. Entering this new year with new ideas and new possibilities, how will we use our minutes? Hold them tight. Hold tight the ones who make our minutes worthwhile. Our spaces might not change in this coming year, but the use of our time and our minutes, that is what will count. How often do we go from just a minute to making our minutes just? The opportunities for profound acts of justice and hope in a world void of both, these are what we can use our minutes for. The minutes we will take to vote. The minutes we will use to call truth to power and offer a voice to the voiceless. The minutes we will use to end the week and offer a pure Shabbat Shalom. The minutes we will use for an extra hug before we leave. The minutes we will use when we are asked, can you just read one more page? We have the minutes until they are gone. So let's commit in this new year to use them with intentionality, with possibility, and with compassion and love. So right now, take a minute. Breathe in the power of today, the possibility of tomorrow, and the holiness of now. How will we use our minutes for good? How will we use our minutes for right? How will we share those minutes with the ones that we love? On the morning of the funeral of the Honorable John Lewis this past summer, one of his biographers, the great historian John Meacham, said that he believed John Lewis to be a saint in the pure essence of the idea of sainthood. Not otherworldly, not angelic with supernatural powers, a sinner, not a savior. But compared to the rest of us, he sinned a little less and saved a little more. What a great message and reminder for us on this Yom Kippur. And although we don't have the tradition of sainthood, we do have that of the tzaddik. And I have thought a lot about John Lewis this past summer. And this past week, so many of us have thought about the tzaddik, Justice Ginsburg. Two of them icons of justice, heroes to the masses. I think about their minutes, the time they spent pursuing good, the time they spent pursuing justice, but also the time they spent for us, taking time for pictures, moments for passerbys, to share their truth, to share their Torah, to share their minutes. We make their memories a blessing. We make their memories a revolution by committing our lives and our times to the pursuit of the holy, to the pursuit of the good, and to the pursuit of justice. Because their passing and the passing of so many in this past year reminds us that although their time is gone, our time remains. Because we are the guardians of this moment. We are the keepers of this time. So how will we use it for good? For the ones in our home that we love, for the ones in our community that we care for the ones in our society that we have never met, but are waiting for our voice and are waiting for our time in this coming year. How will we transform our time into vessels of good and right, vessels of justice and hope, vessels of love and compassion? Now we have to be honest with ourselves. In this coming year, we might not find ourselves walking the streets of Jerusalem. We might not be asked to join that minyan, but we will be asked to give a minute of our time. And the question we ask ourselves is, how will we respond? How will our minutes transform the lives around us? How will our minutes turn mundane moments into holy opportunities? We might not be the tzaddik, the righteous person yet, but with enough minutes in this coming year, we might find ourselves a year from now, together, once again, a community of tzaddikim, reflecting on a year of justice, reflecting on a year of hope, and reflecting on a year of love. Let's make our time count together in this coming year. Shana Tova.
On this most awesome day, filled with soaring, soulful music and uplifting, inspirational words, we feel the lofty divine presence of Malkenu, our sovereign God. But even as we are lifted up, we are drawn inward as well. This is also a time for intimate, personal reflection. We look deep into our soul, asking forgiveness, granting forgiveness, and seeking repair. As we make this difficult journey, we seek out a comforting, compassionate, loving presence. We seek out Avinu, our parent. With Avinu Malkenu, we recognize that God is both lofty, sovereign, and intimate parent. Awesome, grand, and inspiring, as well as warm, accepting, and comforting. We turn now on page 252 and 253 to Avinu Malkenu. If you are able and if you so desire, I invite you to please rise.
Avinu Malkenu, shema koleinu. Avinu Malkenu, chatanu lefanecha.
This morning we stand with our ancestors on the edge of the Promised Land. As they stood there preparing to cross over, Moses reminded them that it would take all of them, mothers and fathers and children, young and old, employers and employees, Jews and non-Jews, all of those committed to building a land of promise. Because a promised land isn't simply a given, as Moses implored them and implores us as well, to remember, a promised land must be built, must be cared for, protected, and must be sustained. A promised land is a choice. As the Torah portion we are about to read reminds us, it is up to each of us. We too are about to cross over. But the crossing is not enough. There is nothing magical over there. The land we are about to enter is qualitatively no different than the land on which we are standing, the land we are about to leave. If we want it to be different, we have to choose to make it so. We have to commit to the hard work that is necessary to truly build something unique, something different, something holy, a promised land. Are you ready to cross over? I invite you to turn now to pages 266 through 268, where you will find this morning's Torah portion.
For the honor of reading Torah this Yom Kippur morning, we invite up Aliyah Abby Mayor, and for the honor of the Aliyah, we invite up all who have participated in our adult study in this past year. Year in and year out, you continue to inspire and motivate this congregation through your study, through your pursuit of wisdom, and for keeping that flame of Torah alive in your hearts, in our hearts, and in the hearts of this entire community. We now invite you up to offer the honor of the blessing of Torah.
Asher Baharanu Mikol Hamim V'Natanu Et Torah Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Atem nitzavim hayom kulehem lifnei Adonai Elohehem Rashahem Shiftehem Ziknehem V'Shotrehem Kol Ish Yisrael Tapehem Nishehem V'Gereha Asher B'Kerech Mahaneha V'Hotev Eitzeha Ad Shoef Meimeha Leoverha Divri Adonai Eloheha Uma'alato Asher Adonai Eloheha Borei Imha Hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natav et koteinu Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
How honored we are to invite essential workers for our Aliyah this morning. If we think back months and months and months ago, I don't think any of us was as cautious, as concerned, as caring for the people that help us make our lives. From the people picking our fruit, the strawberries and the grapes that make summer so beautiful in California, to people who are cleaning in every environment, whether here at the synagogue or in stores we have to go to. The people who deliver our groceries and our medicines, the truck drivers who are on the road away from their family. And how could we possibly forget our first responders, the police, the fire, the officials who help us with all that is necessary to keep us safe. And last without least, the physicians, the nurses, the techs, every single individual who helps make hospitals clean and safe. They are owed the most gigantic thank you. And the way our tradition honors people is by extending them the privilege of an Aliyah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch atah Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Lema'an hakimotecha hayom lo le'am vehu yishelecha le'elohim ka'asher diber lach וכאשר נשבע לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב ולא ייתכם לברכם אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת והעלה הזאת כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu et Torat emet, v'chayei olam tavitochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
For the final Aliyah this morning, I'd like to call on members of the confirmation class of 2020. What can I say about this remarkable group of young adults, the confirmation class of 2020? They have stood up and stood out in remarkable ways this past year, taking up first the mitzvah of welcoming the stranger into their midst, a new rabbi who you so warmly welcomed. And you have stood strong in the halls of Congress, speaking truth to power, and even stronger in the face of this pandemic, often lifting my spirit on Tuesday evenings as we join together. And of course, making the difficult decision to delay your ceremony of confirmation until you could all join together on the bima in our sanctuary. It is such a blessing to welcome this amazing group of young adults, to honor them with the third Aliyah this morning. And it is equally my honor to welcome Jessica Tushin, who will be our Torah reader.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ki hamitzvah hazot asher Anohi metzaveha hayom lo nifleti mimeha velo rechoka hi lo vashamayim hi leimor mi ya'alelanu hashamayma vayekahe halanu v'yishmienu oto v'na'asena v'lo me'ever layam hi leimor mi ya'avar lanu el ever hayam vayekahe halanu v'yishmienu oto v'na'asena ki karov eleha hadavar me'od bifiha uvilvaveha lasoto.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
We now take a moment to pray for those who are in need of healing. It may be a loved one, it may be even ourselves. Please take a moment in the chat box on the side as we listen to the beautiful melody of Mishaberach by Craig Taubman.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leahu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Elna Refana Elna Refana Elna narefana mi shebeirach avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim.
Eternal presence, who blessed our mothers and fathers, bless this holy congregation, a house of study, prayer, and righteous deeds. Together we give thanks for our leaders, those who learn, teach, and uphold the Torah, inspiring others to learn, teach, and uphold the Torah. Those who do the sacred work of building our community, may their service bring them joy, fulfillment, and purpose, and may they go from strength to strength.
For our members, diverse in age, interest, and background, Jews by birth, Jews by choice, and those of other faiths who join us, all who offer their time and talent, their love and commitment. For all who come here on this holy day of Yom Kippur to share the search for meaning and renewal, your presence is a blessing, your friendship a gift.
May the spirit of peace, dignity, and respect live within these walls, inspiring us to care for one another with compassion. And may we be a source of goodness, light, and healing for the world.
May the one who blessed the generations before us bless us as we stand together this day. One congregation, joined with all Jewish communities in the world through our prayers on this Day of Atonement.
Let us renew ourselves for this year ahead. Let us honor the precious legacy that is ours.
Because I was angry, because I didn't think, because I was exhausted and on edge, because I'd been drinking, because I can be mean, because I was reckless and selfish, because I was worried about money, because my marriage was dead, because other people were doing it, because I thought I could get away with it, because I did something wrong, because I'm in pain, because I wish I could undo it, because I hurt him, because I lost her trust, because I let them down, because I was self-destructive, because I was foolish, because I was ashamed, because that's not who I am, because that's not who I want to be, because I want to be forgiven. God, bring down my walls of defensiveness and self-righteousness. Help me to stay in humility. Please, give me the strength to do what's right.
When we say our penitential prayers, turning our hearts inward, then to our fellow human beings who we may have wronged, and then finally toward God, we recognize our individual roles in having fallen short. But in our prayers asking for forgiveness, all of our words point us toward a communal experience. Our prayer book instructs us of these wrongs we are guilty. Why do we confess to wrongs we have not personally committed? The 16th century mystic, Rabbi Isaac Luria, teaches that the people of Israel may be likened to a body of which every Jew is a living part. The vitality of the whole depends upon the health of every organ and limb. That is how deeply we are connected to one another. Therefore, each individual sin inflicts damage on the whole organism, and all of us share responsibility for healing the body of Israel. How different this is from our experience as Americans, where the role and rights of the individual are placed above the community. May we come to experience a balance in our lives between communal and individual responsibility, and may our teshuvah, our turning toward forgiveness and healing, reflect that balance.
I remember sitting in synagogue as a child on Yom Kippur and reading the confessional prayers. Al chet shechatanu, for the sins we have sinned. I recall reading through the list and checking them off. Nope, didn't do that one. Nope, didn't do that one either. Nope, nope, nope. Not that I was such a perfect child, but really? So why in the plural? Why do we recite this prayer in the plural? Why not in the singular, allowing us to confess that for which we are really truly guilty? The message of the confessional prayer we are about to recite is clear. We are each one responsible for each other. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel once famously taught, morally speaking, there is no limit to the concern one must feel for the suffering of human beings. That indifference to evil is worse than evil itself. In a free society, some are guilty, but all are responsible. We continue now on our own for the next several moments with the words to be found from pages 300 to page 306. God bless you and watch over you always. May God's divine presence shine upon you as a source of grace and blessing. And may God's countenance be lifted towards you, always blessing you with the greatest of gifts, the gift of shalom, of wholeness, and of peace. It has been a beautiful and powerful moment of worship that we have shared this morning. I hope your soul and spirit, like mine, have been uplifted by the beauty of our music and our liturgy and challenged and inspired by the words we have heard. I want to thank everyone who has made this morning and all of our worship during these high holy days possible. We are all so grateful. Before we conclude this morning, allow me to offer just a few reminders and announcements. Our Yom Kippur observance will continue this afternoon with worship, learning, and meditation opportunities for our University Synagogue members. At 1 p.m., there will be an opportunity to explore the most famous of Haftarot, that which is read on Yom Kippur afternoon, the Book of Jonah, with our Rabbi Emeritus, Morley Feinstein. And at 2 p.m., I invite you to join me as we metaphorically ascend the 15 steps to holiness, as did the high priest during the Avodah service on Yom Kippur afternoon, when he entered the Holy of Holies. Our session will bring together readings, reflections, music, and opportunities for personal reflection. At 3 p.m. with Cantor Shapiro and our very special guest, Mara Gad, author of the personal memoir, The Color of Love, a memoir of a mixed-race Jewish girl in an important and timely discussion about race. The session will include the Cantor's video interview of Mara, along with a live follow-up opportunity for discussion. And finally, In preparation for our afternoon Yizkor and Ne'ilah service, we invite you to take time to engage in guided meditations on the themes of Yom Kippur and to reflect with the melodic sounds of Yuval Ron on the oud, the Middle Eastern lute. Our Yizkor Memorial Service, open to everyone, will begin at 5:15 right back here on our YouTube platform, and will be followed at 6 p.m. by the day's concluding Ne'ilah service. We invite you to grab your own shofar to join along with us, and maybe our blasts of the shofar will be heard across the west side and the city, and maybe the world. And hopefully you will still have that second round little challah in your freezer, which we'll use to say motzi as we close the day with a live Havdalah service around 6:45 or so. University Synagogue, in partnership with the Union for Reform Judaism and the Religious Action Center, is committed to making sure every voice is counted during our upcoming election season. And so we are participating as part of that commitment on a pledge to make sure that everyone at University Synagogue votes. Hopefully you received a little placard like this in your email. You can print it and download it. Make sure that you are counted this election season. Please take a picture of yourself, a selfie, and send it to us so we can advertise that you are joining with us in our 100% effort. A reminder that we collect food for those in need all year, and now more than ever that need is so great. So please bring your bags of Sova food for Sova to the temple, to the congregation. We will safely collect them and make sure that Sova receives them. Following our final benediction, we invite you to remain for a special message regarding our amazing and blessed University Synagogue community. And now from all of us, to all of you, our wishes for a good, sweet, blessed, and healthy 5781. Let's join together with Cantor Shapiro as we approach the end of our worship this morning. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. In humble linen garments, the priests once stood at the altar. So we stand now in humility to lift up our offering to you.
It is written in the Torah, each morning the Kohen shall take up the ashes left from the night's offering and remove them from the altar. Thus begins the service of a new day.
And our sages teach, clear away the debris of the past, begin anew. Complacency and despair are the enemies of hope. Each day summons us to start again.
The fire on the altar must never die out. Tend it with care. Keep the sacred flame alive.
So also should the spirit be sustained and preserved. This day we nourish ourselves with Torah and prayer, and tomorrow return to the world.
Our energies replenished, our commitments renewed. Tomorrow we go forth to serve the Most High. In small ways, in all ways, let us align ourselves with the good, our minds and our hearts and our hands devoted to tikkun.
In humility, we stand here this day hoping to lift up our lives and persevere through life's trials. Let us gain strength from one another. Let us gain strength from the tradition that we share. We offer you a Gamar Chatima Tova. May you be written and sealed for a good year, a year of health, a year of strength, a year of renewal, a sweet year. L'Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shalom. I'm Jeff Melvoin, past president of University Synagogue, and today I want to talk to you about George Gershwin, pickled herring.
You're not going to talk about those pesky white envelopes again, are you?
Actually,
Dad, look around. There are no envelopes. There are no congregants.
I know, but we still have the high holy days coming up, and there's still a pressing need.
But envelopes, really? With all the problems the Postal Service have been having? Don't you think it's time for a little Lador Vador to kick in?
I think it just did.
Hello, I'm Nick Melvoin. I remember my dad giving the High Holy Day appeal year after year when I was a kid. They were warm, funny, and effective. But that was yesterday. And as Lincoln said, the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present.
Are you saying I'm obsolete?
I'm saying today we find ourselves in very different circumstances. Traditionally, the High Holy Day Appeal funds programs beyond our existing operating budget. But this year, the need is more obvious and more desperate. We need your help to retain our dedicated administrators, teachers, and staff who work so hard every day to make University Synagogue the place we all know it to be.
Despite extreme cost-cutting measures, without your additional generosity at this time, we won't be able to cover salaries. It's as simple as that.
I remember my bar mitzvah like it was yesterday. I was standing here. It's admittedly a lot less intimidating with nobody in the audience. My parents were over there. My grandparents were over there. It's a great feeling to be back in this special place where we all have so many memories of community and hope, especially when things outside these synagogue walls are changing so rapidly. But now University Synagogue needs our support. If we want to keep these traditions alive, if we want to keep the Ner Tamid burning, we all need to do our part now to support the operations of University Synagogue and support those administrators, teachers, and custodial staff who work so hard on our behalf.
Okay, no more pesky white envelopes. You can give by check, credit card, or PayPal. Go to unison.org or simply call the synagogue at 310-472-1255. I know we've all been stretched thin during this difficult time, but we need to dig deep today so we can celebrate together again tomorrow.
In lieu of ushers walking down the aisle with baskets, I'm just going to stand here and stare at the camera with the hopes that you're all donating right now. Okay, now you can get back to Gershwin and pickled herring.
Maybe next year.
Good call. From our family to yours, a happy and healthy holiday season and a prosperous new year. Shana Tova.
How about some apples and honey?
Let's do it.